All right, folks, welcome to Outspoken, our first show. Dan Sileo here. And, folks, I got to tell you, we're going to go around one of the greatest weekends in sports, and that is the divisional rounds of the National Football League. Look at the storylines that you got heading into this, man. It's incredible what you're looking at here, guys, when we're talking about these games that we're going to see this weekend. There's no doubt about it. This is clearly the best weekend in football. And I don't care what anyone says. You could say wild card was great. Look at the numbers that you had ratings-wise last week. So, guys, fire the cannons. These are some of the topics that, listen, we're going to be looking at with these games this week, man. I'm telling you, Buffalo and Denver. Here's the storyline going into this. If not now, when for Josh Allen? I mean, there's no Joe Burrow. There is no Patrick Mahomes. There's no Lamar Jackson. If you don't get it done, this is going to be an indictment on this guy's career. Hey, look, they had another quarterback up in Buffalo by the name of Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Pro Football Hall of Famer, didn't win that ring. Went there 4 times. What's the one thing they put on him? He's one of the Charles Barkleys of the National Football League, and that is this. You didn't win, and you didn't put the glass slipper on. You're going to look down that line and look at that kid. If he does not win this time, there's no excuses. What's on the other side here with Denver? Let's go back a couple years here with Denver here. Remember the whole Russell Wilson mess? You're coming out of a transition from the Bolin family. You had to put this franchise back where it once was with the great wins, the great players you had with John Elway. And what did they do? They went out and they got Sean Peyton. They put Sean Peyton in the building. They put Sean Peyton in charge. And what did they do? They went out, they got their quarterback. You know, my big beef with Sean Peyton was, what have you done without Drew Brees? Well, here he is. Number 1 seed in the AFC. They got a home field throughout the AFC playoffs if they're able to get it done. This is a great coaching job. I thought that, you know what, we were going to really look at him, Sean Payton, and say, where are you going to take this franchise where you took with the New Orleans Saints and what you did with the New Orleans Saints? And it's a great job. There's no doubt about it. San Francisco and Seattle, a game again that you're looking at. This San Francisco football team has no right being in this game in Seattle. That is a practice squad roster. Look what they did last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning champs. Look what that team did. You lose George Kittle in the first 5 minutes of that game, right? You lose that dude. Banged up McCaffrey, banged up Trent Williams. And you go in there and you outcoach the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Sirianni in that group. So much so that it ended up really costing Kevin Petullo his job. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But what a coaching job. Kyle Shanahan, great stuff in what he did in that game against the Philadelphia Eagles. And then you got Seattle. And here, let's put this out there and just go, when you're talking about quarterbacks and you're talking about reclamation projects, Sam Darnold is 28-6. He's 28-6. In the last 2 years with 2 different football teams and taking 2 different football teams to 14 wins. It's incredible on what he has done with that football team. Hey, last year we saw the indictment on the guy when he ended the season against Detroit, and in that playoff game, what happened? Everybody said he turned back into a pumpkin again, right? Well, this year at the end, he beat the Rams. They get the number 1 overall seed. And right now, they host the NFC playoffs. If they're able to go all the way through to the title game, and may see themselves in Santa Clara. The Sunday games, man, I mean, Houston and New England. Let's take a look at this here with Houston. I mean, so you come out of the Deshaun Watson mess. You bring in a dude like Nick Caserio. Remember something where Nick Caserio came from? He came from New England. You want to know one of the reasons why the Patriots fell off the map at the end of the time with Bill Belichick? It's talent level. Take a look at the talent level that you have. Okay? I mean, you don't have a lot of talent level up there. Caserio was part of that. Look what he's done in Houston here. New England, Mike Vrabel, amazing. Just an amazing job. What a great franchise you have there with ownership with Bob Kraft. So Bob Kraft goes to a Super Bowl with Parcells and Bledsoe. Now he went with Brady and Belichick, and now potentially he has a shot to go with May and Vrabel. That's incredible. Then, of course, you got Rams and the Bears to close up the divisional weekend. I mean, this is going to be a weather game, to say the least. In Chicago, wind coming off Lake Michigan. You got Lakeshore Drive. Everybody's getting ready there in Chicago. Who would have thunk this? What a great coaching job that Ben Johnson has done. I mean, insane job. And then you got, of course, the two big stories. You have Stafford and Allen. Stafford and Allen. What are they going to do in the playoffs? Make no mistake about it, right? What are they going to do in the playoffs? Josh Allen, and does he cement his place in NFL history when it comes to Matthew Stafford? Remember, he was dying on the vine in Detroit, and he had Megatron up there, and they couldn't get anything done. They make that trade. They send him to Los Angeles with Sean McVay. And really, the rest has been history. It's incredible on what these guys have done. I mean, no doubt, Les Snead and Kevin Demoff, some of the best people in front office executives you will see, because, remember, they pushed all their chips in a couple of years ago when it came to winning that Super Bowl. And now here they are again with an opportunity to be the favorites to go on and win. Matthew Stafford, man, what a year, right? 45-plus touchdowns. Insane season, and what this guy has been able to accomplish. My God, man. I mean, I am such a Matthew Stafford fan. Really, it's been an indictment on him when he was up in Detroit. Could he get it done? He hadn't won a playoff game. Now, his complete resume has changed. You know, when he came to the Los Angeles Rams, he had a losing record. Now, he's turned that completely around, and we're talking about potentially this guy going in and punching his ticket to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Those two storylines, Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford, are going to be something that I'm going to keep an eye on for this playoff round here, this divisional round. I mean, these games, folks, I think also, too, keep an eye on this going into these games. Defense travels. And there's going to be a lot of storylines here on what defenses are going to be able to carry their football. Just like, again, what we said about Houston, that's the best defensive football team in the National Football League. All right. Hey, really proud to have part of our program, our friends at Morgan & Morgan. Our friends have been with us for such a long period of time, and we're so proud to have them part of our program here. With over $20 billion recovered for clients, Morgan & Morgan is the number one place for you to go when it comes to making sure you and your family are protected. Family in Pennsylvania initially had $650,000 offered to them. They ended up getting $26 million in a settlement. Another family in Florida had $350,000. Morgan & Morgan went in with their team and got you $12 million. This will be the easiest decision you ever make in your life. Folks, I'm telling you, Morgan & Morgan, go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. All right, we come back out of the timeout. We are going to talk with Joe Lisi again. Look at all the things lined up. Oh, well, my Hurricanes play on Monday for the national championship for potentially number 6. Okay? Number 6. And just to give you a little history on that, we have now played, counting this game, this will be the 4th time we play for the national championship in South Florida. 3 of those national championships we won at the old legendary Orange Bowl. So what happens against IU on Monday? I can't wait for that game. All the naysayers are saying that Miami can't get it done. On Monday, I'm telling you, my guys are going to get it ready to rock and roll. We're going to talk with Joe Lisi next on that. Keep it right here.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
if I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Bye. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports Grid.
New York Giants, they fired their head coach, Brian Daboll. Now, they did that during the season. Harbaugh is the favorite by a wide margin. Looking at Kalshi right now, Joe, 56% chance. 56 that he's the coach. The guy behind him is Kevin Stefanski at 25%. Is this look like it's just a Harbaugh spot? And if not, why is Harbaugh waiting until Monday? Does he want to see if something else opens up? But it looks like he's the heavy favorite and probably will get the job.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
Aaron Rodgers' season and maybe career comes to an end. But I want to start by saying this. We always go to the losing team, it feels like, first sometimes. And I know we're going to spend a lot of time on Pittsburgh. But I think Houston's live, right, man? Like, I mean, if they're going to play that kind of defense next week, they're going to beat New England too.
Newswire, only on Sports Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into Sports Grid and get ahead of the class.
How are you not stoked about this weekend and also on Monday night? I don't know, man. I mean, you don't have a pulse in sports if you don't think this is one of the best weekends going into a sports calendar. I mean, divisional games, as we said, and also the national championship game on Monday, the Miami Hurricanes versus the Indiana Hoosiers. And we bring in one of Sports Grid's great hosts here, Joe Lisi, joins us now. We're going to talk a little college football, and we're going to talk some national title. Joe, appreciate you doing this. And I'll ask you flat out here, man. My Canes, Monday, they got a shot?
Oh, of course they have a shot, Dan. I mean, the calm before the storm, 8.5-point underdogs. They proved that with the win over Ohio State and the come-from-behind win last week against Ole Miss. Carson Beck stepped up. The way that defense has played over the past 3 games, I mean, has been in dominating fashion. Just look at it. Against Texas A&M, they've shut down the run, 89, 56 yards allowed. They allowed 121, but that was game flow to Ole Miss, and they've been winning the turnover battle. The biggest thing is, can they win the turnover battle against Indiana? That is the top team in turnover margin, plus 21. If they could do that and run the football with Brown and Mark Fletcher, they'll be in this ballgame.
How about this? Do you agree that the road that they have had to get to this game, I mean, you look at, they beat A&M at Kyle Field. They held a football team that put up 40-plus points on Notre Dame to 3. I know they didn't really have a high-octane offense in that game, but then they turn around, and I think they beat up Ohio State more than what Indiana did in the Big Ten championship game. They beat them on both sides of the ball, Joe. I mean, then you have to go into a shootout to win that game against Ole Miss, and now you're in the championship game, and you got a shot to go in here and really make history here with your 6th national title. Don't you think they've had a road that kind of makes them battle-tested for this game? Because look, Alabama, they got throttled by a 5-7 Florida State team at the beginning of the year that Miami beat. And some would agree that Alabama didn't deserve to be in the 12-team tournament. So is it Miami's road to this game? Haven't they been more prepped for this game than what Indiana has?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as the underdog, I think they've taken this on as a mentality and as a locker room, and that's a testament to what Mario Cristobal has built there. And agreed, think about the games that they lost, right? The Louisville Friday night matchup where they were 13.5-point favorites and they lost by basically a field goal. And then the road loss to SMU in the middle part of the season. They were 6.5-point favorites and lost on the road. For the last month and a half of the regular season, entering the playoffs, they had that playoff mentality. And just think about the wins. To your point, they put the football game on Marcel Reed. They sacked him 7 times. They went into an environment that people thought the ACC couldn't play in Kyle Field, and they dominated that game on both sides of the football in the trenches. Then they took out Julian Sayin and put the football game on his shoulders. That's something that no team, including Indiana, was able to do throughout the regular season. And in that matchup against Trinidad Chambliss, that offense was able to dictate the tempo, Dan, and they held Ole Miss to only 8 plays with about 5 minutes left in the second quarter. So that's a testament to them being able to dictate the tempo, wear down teams at the point of attack, run the football, and more importantly, win the turnover battle, and that's a testament to what Mario Cristobal has done. Again, this is a different animal with Indiana because Indiana has been able to push around everybody they've played, but the first quarter will dictate this. But of course, Miami has a shot. 8.5 points is a little bit disrespectful entering this matchup.
You know, at the beginning of the season, I was told by everybody on Carson Beck, you know, hey, this guy here, one of the reasons why they got rid of him at Georgia was because this guy was prone to a lot of turnovers. And really, the investment that they made, Joe, with the $4.5 million that they paid him in that nil, look at what they've done with these playoff games. It's kind of paid itself off. And here he is in a national championship game. But do you not agree? He's really the X factor in this game and how well he plays in this game, because if they can get sustained drives in this ball game, that's how you keep that defense off on the sideline there. And that's how you have to take care of time of possession and field position. The key is it Carson Beck for you?
It's one of the factors. I agree with that. His experience, and he's playing at Georgia. He's played in big games, right? Played in an SEC championship game. So he was already battle tested, I thought, Dan, from the mentality and psychological perspective. But he did struggle in some road environments in Georgia and struggled in a couple of games this year against Louisville and, to your point, against SMU. But he has really come into his own, and I think he's playing with the confidence. He's going up against Fernando Mendoza, and I think Mendoza's a really good quarterback. I'm not sure on the next level. He's an elite quarterback, same skill set as Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels, but it does come to the fact that I think Carson Beck and this passing attack have to make plays over the top. I think they can't just run it early on. I think they have to challenge that secondary. This is a team in Indiana that's only given up 78 rushing yards per game, but I think Carson Beck can do that. I love what Marion did last week against Ole Miss, and I still think the X factor outside of Malachi Toney, I need to see more C.J. Daniels. He's an experienced wide receiver, especially in red zone opportunities. Keep an eye out for Daniels on Monday night.
Okay, last question here for you then. Mario Cristobal has always had in-game adjustment questions about how he has managed football teams. Has he answered that a little bit with you here when it comes to what he's done in the playoffs?
It has, and I think I saw that obviously against Ohio State, and you saw it in the second half. The biggest thing, too, is that he's remained calm. That is the biggest thing. He hasn't gotten too emotional. He's focused on the prize, and he has this team motivated and playing well. Again, I think he's erased all those doubts. When you pick up 3 playoff wins, Dan, against top-flight competition, and one of those teams was the number 1 team entering this college football playoff, I think you definitely erase every doubt heading into a national championship game, but now you have to finish the deal. If the U is ultimately going to be back, they win this game on Monday night.
I'll tell you this, Joe. People ask me that question all the time. Is the U back? And I refuse to answer that, Joe, until they win the national championship, because when people ask the question, right, Joe? Right. Are you back?
Right.
If you're asking the question, you're not back.
Well, let me say this, Dan. I do go back. I went to baseball camp at Coral Gables, Ron Frazier, Melvin Bratton, friend of my show. I know all of your Bernard, Tiger Clark, all your old teammates. That's what you got to get back to, those type of days, and they have an opportunity to show out on Monday night.
Absolutely. Joe, thank you so much, brother. We'll do it again.
Anytime.
All right, man. I agree with him. You bet, man. That's absolutely sensational, too. Tiger back in the day. Coach Frazier, man, absolutely sensational. Hey, Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh, excuse me. Nature Stories. We'll have on them next here on Sports Grid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports Grid.
New York Giants. They fired their head coach, Brian Dable. Now, they did that during the season. Harbaugh is the favorite by a wide margin. Looking at Kalshi right now, Joe, 56% chance. 56 that he's the coach. The guy behind him is Kevin Stefanski at 25%. Is this look like it's just a Harbaugh spot? And if not, why is Harbaugh waiting until Monday? Does he want to see if something else opens up? But it looks like he's the heavy favorite and probably will get the job.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
Aaron Rodgers' season and maybe career comes to an end. But I want to start by saying this. We always go to the losing team, it feels like, first sometimes. And I know we're going to spend a lot of time on Pittsburgh. But I think Houston's live, right, man? Like, I mean, if they're going to play that kind of defense next week, they're going to beat New England too.
Newswire, only on Sports Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into Sports Grid and get ahead of the class.
How do you not think the storylines this past week, going into the divisional rounds this weekend, is Mike Tomlin resigning in Pittsburgh and also John Harbaugh being fired by the Baltimore Ravens? We start here with Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is one of the coaches in the National Football League that if I were still able to play today, that's one of the guys that I would love to play for. This guy's an accountability guy. And if you can make Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell successful with those two lunatics that played in the NFL, and you can make those guys productive, how do you not look at this guy as a come-to-Jesus kind of coach? This is a guy that holds people accountable. There's a couple guys on that coaching staff that are former teammates of mine. Carl Dunbar is a defensive line coach who was at Alabama, and also you have Charles Henry there, who was their tight end coach. And he tells you all the time, when those guys are in meetings, he holds people accountable and he'll throw anybody on blast. Now, what he does in 2026, it sounds like he's going to take a year off. It sounds like he's going to try to recharge. I mean, I love the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers organization is by far the gold standard on stability. Think about this. You've had more popes and presidents in the United States and more popes than you've had head coaches in Pittsburgh. Since 1969, you've had three dudes in the room: Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. Now you're going to have a fourth guy. I mean, that's incredible stability. The only problem that they had in Pittsburgh was this: they didn't have a transition plan coming out of Roethlisberger. A transition plan is not Justin Fields or Mason Rudolph or a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. That's not a transition plan. A lot of organizations struggle with that. You know, it's a headless football team right now till you figure out the quarterback job. Now, is this a good job? Of course it's a good job. You know, I recommended, this week in other places that I said that Marcus Freeman would be an absolutely great hire here for the Roonies, if you were able to put him in the building there, how is this guy not the perfect dude? He's a people guy. And as a Miami guy, he actually makes me want to root. Well, maybe not root, but he makes me like Notre Dame a little. He has done so much for that program. Who would have thought it would have been an upgrade having Marcus Freeman take over for Brian Kelly? Who would have thought that? How incredible is that on what he's done? Hey, for the record, I know a lot of people are thinking this, that I wouldn't want Notre Dame in the playoff, but I do, and I did. I did want them in because that's great for football. I want the best 12 in, okay? I do. Hey, John Harbaugh being fired. Hey, thank you very much, Ravens. I now make $20 million a year, potentially, with the New York Giants. Now, listen, that deal's not been inked yet. I'm getting a small little bit of feeling that the Belichick Jets thing again, until that ink is dry, okay? Until that ink is dry, you got to think to yourselves, okay, wait a minute, what's going on here a little bit? Is he still hearing, opportunities and other jobs that are out there potentially for him? I love John Harbaugh. Hey, one thing is for sure. You hire a Harbaugh, it's going to be winning. Harbaugh means winning. Now, these guys will wear your rear ends out. They will, okay? What I didn't like is the way that they fired the guy. All of a sudden, you're tar and feathering the guy on the way out the door. The guy wasn't connecting. What are you talking about? This guy won 180 ball games for you, and he won a Super Bowl for you with Joe Flacco. I mean, John Harbaugh is going to, if he does ink this deal down with the New York Giants, he is absolutely going to turn that franchise around. Kevin Stefanski is another name. Listen, hey, Jimmy Haslam, Cleveland, hello, two-time NFL Coach of the Year. Wherever he goes, in my opinion, that's also going to be an upgrade. I actually like this guy. I think he would be a great addition to the New York Giants. I love the guy. I mean, coaching Shedeur Sanders, please. Sanders is not the answer in Cleveland. Stefanski was a great coach in Cleveland. He was. In 25 years, they had 4 winning seasons. 4. And 2 of them belonged to Kevin Stefanski. You tell me if that guy's a bad coach or he's just in a bad organization. Hey, bad bleeds down. Okay? It does, man. Hey, without a doubt here, folks, one of the storylines also this week was what happened in Philadelphia and what happened with Kevin Patullo and the Philadelphia Eagles getting bounced by the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to hit on that next. Did they cure their ills? Keep it right here on Sports.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports Grid.
New York Giants. They fired their head coach, Brian Daboll. Now, they did that during the season. Harbaugh is the favorite by a wide margin. Looking at Kalshi right now, Joe, 56% chance. 56 that he's the coach. The guy behind him is Kevin Stefanski at 25%. Is this look like it's just a Harbaugh spot? And if not, why is Harbaugh waiting until Monday? Does he want to see if something else opens up? But it looks like he's the heavy favorite and probably will get the job.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
Aaron Rodgers' season and maybe career comes to an end. But I want to start by saying this. We always go to the losing team, it feels like, first sometimes. And I know we're going to spend a lot of time on Pittsburgh. But I think Houston's live, right, man? Like, I mean, if they're going to play that kind of defense next week, they're going to beat New England too.
Newswire, only on Sports Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into Sports Grid and get ahead of the class.
A lot of heat going on in the city of brotherly love when it comes to Jalen Hurts and what's next for the Philadelphia Eagles. They end up blowing out their OC, Kevin Patullo, who I said at the beginning of last year when they named the guy the OC, you're telling me you're going to hire a guy who's never been a play caller in the history of football, and he's had a lot of gopher jobs. You're going to turn the keys of your franchise over to a dude that's never been a play caller. We knew that this would be a problem going into the 25 season. How do you not look at that and say, wait a minute, the more experienced guy's the quarterback than the coordinator? You don't have that on the other side with the defense with Vic Fangio. Why would you give the guy a training wheels coordinator? And it played itself out. However, I'm going to go down this lane here, and a lot of people don't like this lane when it comes to the quarterback. I don't care if you hire North Turner. You're not fixing the problems because the quarterback is limited. Why do you think you have a Mickey Mouse type offense and it's limited and it's predictable? Take a look at the offense and what they have and what they do. They have Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is a limited quarterback. And when you look, they don't throw across the middle of the field. Now, some people would go, Sills, look at his resume. No doubt. He wins because of the intangibles that he has. But when it comes to being a prolific passer, he'll never be that guy. So it doesn't really matter what the coordinator is when you bring in the guy to try to teach the guy. I think what they've done in Philadelphia is I think they have really done a poor job coaching the kid since Shane Steichen was the offensive coordinator there when he was a dual threat dude. In 2022, he was a weapon. 23, he was a turnover machine. This last year, it was up and down and spotty. They never played 4 quarters of football. And people then looked and said, well, it must be the coordinator. Look at all the coordinators that Jalen Hurts has had since he was at Alabama. Let's not forget something. One of the things that even Nick Saban knew when he was there in Tuscaloosa was what? The guy couldn't spread the football around to Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith or all those great wide receivers they had at Alabama. So what did they do? They went with Tua Tagovailoa because he could spread the football around. Hurts can't do that. When he went to Oklahoma, he started to become a better passer when he was there. Okay? And remember something. When he came to Philadelphia in the second round, very questionable on what they did with that second round pick. And a lot of people like to have revisionist history now saying, oh my God, it was a bad pick. Oh, now, they're saying, well, it's a great pick. Oh my God. No, it wasn't. It was a seatbelt pick for Carson Wentz. You had just given the guy the richest contract in the history of the National Football League at the time. He was never drafted to be the heir apparent to anything. He was a seatbelt. And now here we are. Jalen Hurts, he's limited in his abilities, but his intangibles speak volume to what he has done with that franchise. Nick Sirianni has built the offense around the guy's skill set. Do we not see that? You're telling me when you see Ben Johnson, the way he coaches Caleb Williams, he doesn't coach Caleb Williams the same way that he coached Jared Goff in Detroit. You coach to a quarterback skill set. That's the brilliance of coaching. Look at the quarterback, what the quarterback does best. That was running. That was dual threat. Well, this past season, that dual threat was taken away. Hurts doesn't want to run the ball as much. And when you take that screwdriver out of the toolbox, what happens? You have to rely on you being a pocket passer. He's not a pocket. The Eagles are not going to win ball games from the pocket. They're going to win off script. That's where he's been successful. If you look at every single time and every play that he has had as a football player in Philadelphia, it's been really a lot of the off-script stuff that has made him a spectacular player. Look, his intangible, and I said this on February 10th, the day after the Super Bowl, this past Super Bowl. I said this: I'm never going to ever in a million years ever take a shot at the guy's resume. 2 NFC championships, a Super Bowl, the massive winning. Look at what they are over the last 4 years. You're 50-18. How can I sit here, rip a guy when you're talking 50-18? Well, players like Jalen Hurts don't have a high ceiling. The league catches up with you. If you're not going to run, it's predictable. Pass left to Y, pass right to Z. Y, Z. Sometimes tight end, sometimes back, Y, Z. If you look at the third wide receiver in that offense, no matter who it's been, they got 35 catches a year in the last 5 years as an average. You're basically playing with 10 ball players when you line up in a huddle when you go into a football game every given Sunday. You don't utilize the entire unit. And when you didn't have the run game this year that you had a year ago, which was iconic with Saquon Barkley, and you couldn't run the ball, what happened? They were at the bottom of the league in third down. You know the storyline of the Eagles were this year? You could have named that thing 3 and out. 1, 2, 3 kick. It could have been a ballet routine on what hurt that football team this year. And why? Because Jalen Hurts wasn't the weapon he was in 2022 when he would run the football. Look, I like the guy. I do. A lot of people think I'm hating on the guy. I'm not hating on the guy. But if you want to change what you're going to do with a new coordinator, you know, you're talking about Mike McDaniel coming in there. Mike McDaniel and Jalen Hurts? How's that a fit? Mike McDaniel's a West Coast spread offense, Mike Shanahan disciple. He's one of those guys. Hurts is not a West Coast quarterback. I mean, he's just not. And that's going to be the interesting part of how they go forward and thinking if they fix the problem. Look, you need a scapegoat in Philly. When you don't get to a divisional round or you don't get to a conference championship game now because the bar has been set so high by Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, if you don't have that team at least into those rounds, someone's got to be a scapegoat. Just like it was a couple years ago when they blew out their offensive coordinator. I mean, he was 8th in offense 2 years ago in that 23 season. Getting a coordinator in there and fitting the quarterback is going to be a tougher putt than what people think if they're going to get that football team back on track again. I will say it again to you. I get it. All the coordinator changes. You see it here. I mean, right? Ever since he was back at Alabama, he's had a ton of instability. And I think that has really stunted his growth as a quarterback. He just learned a couple years ago how to set pass protections. Think about that. You're an NFL football quarterback, and you don't know how to set pass protections. He was limited coming into the league in the style of play that he has. And I've always said, look, when you're a dual threat, one of these guys, look what's going on in Baltimore. Are you starting to see the end of the line there for Lamar because Lamar doesn't want to run? These dual threat guys don't have long lifelines. Guys in the pocket, they do have these lifelines. They do and can go for a long period of time. Dual threat guys, in my opinion, I think you're looking at short windows. And finding the right coordinator for those guys, that is always a tough putt to match the coordinator up with that style of play. All right. Let me tell you, we come back out of the timeout here. One of the greatest coaching jobs I have ever seen in football history. I mean, I have never in my life ever seen a job like this. And it's incredible in what we're going to see. Okay? Incredible job. Go ahead on that next drive.
I know you did it. Talk.
I'm innocent.
Got the wrong guy. It wasn't me. I didn't do anything. Okay, it was me. I did it.
Bringing an owl to an interrogation? That's a power move.
Every time.
Yeah. Hiring America's largest injury law firm for your injury? That's also a power move. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
It all comes down to this.
We got you covered right up till kickoff.
The Miami Hurricanes, a 10 seed built on pressure. The Indiana Hoosiers, undefeated and dominant. Spread, total, player props, insights across the full betting board. National championship coverage.
And I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
I'll be double checking the list twice.
Only on Sports Grid.
Team USA really undersold this. The superstars really weren't going, but the rest of the world, Latin America, they really geared up. The Team USA actually put their best foot forward, almost like you're having like the dream team of the United States players here going to be out on the baseball diamond. Great pitching, great superstars around. So Clayton Kersaw's like, you know what? You got a spot for me where you can throw me 70 innings in this tournament because I'm not going to be playing baseball the rest of the year, and I'm just going to go away and relax and be happy.
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
The immediate word on the street in Philadelphia and outside is that the best guy for the job would be Brian Dable. It's like all you have to do is spend an hour of your life with me and Tyrone every day, and you're going to learn so much and be prepared for future conversations. Because I told you this back in November.
The Craig Carden Show, only on Sports Grid.
The outline for Koepka are fantastic. I think it's perfect. It is punitive, but it's fair. You've got to levy some sort of fine, so to speak, for defecting, and I think they've done a wonderful job of being equitable and punishing him a bit at the same time. I think Brooks ultimately wants to be playing with the best.
Newswire, only on Sports Grid.
When I was a young recruit and I was getting letters sent to me by colleges across the country and asking me if I wanted to come and play at their respective schools like Ohio State, Oklahoma, Miami, Maryland, and those places, really cool. You'd have great history and you're like, man, this is really an honor. Notre Dame recruited me as well. And so, you know the history. And I remember I got a flyer, and it was from Indiana. And I was like, okay, so let me take a look at this. And me and my pop were looking at it. I'm looking down and I'm like, well, when's the last time they've been to a bowl game? 1967. What was the record a year ago? And 0-11. Where is it? It's in the middle of Indiana, Bloomington. Where's that? And I'm like, I don't know. And so then they had some crazy coach by the name of Lee Corso at the time. I don't know, maybe he was recruiting me because I was a Northeast Paisan. And so I'm sitting here going like, wait a minute here. Indiana, my grandfather goes, they didn't win a game. And they haven't won a game in 3 years. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, that's not for me. Folks, Indiana is one of the worst, if not the worst football program in the history of college football. As much as you think Ohio State in that conference, think the direct opposite in what this program has achieved since Kurt Cignetti has gone there. You don't realize what this man has done. He took the transfers from James Madison. He brought all those kids in. He brought a culture in. Google him. This guy here has made Indiana football fashionable. What? In my lifetime, if you told me that Indiana is playing in a national championship game, I would tell you you were drunk. You're kidding me, man. Indiana? I don't think people really are putting enough on what this guy has done. This football program was the dregs of college football. Curt Cignetti is maybe the best coach in the country, pro and college. I think he could do this at the next level. You know why? He's got a formula. And he comes off that Saban tree of all those great coaches that were on that coaching staff in 2015, including the guy he's going to be going against on Monday night in Mario Cristobal. They were all coaching on that same staff. Dan Lanning, go down the line. Lane Kiffin was on that staff. I mean, if you took the helmets off of Indiana right now and put the Bama helmets on those guys, wouldn't you think that that was an Alabama style of play? Oh, by the way, that 8.5 points, thank you. Thank you. I want it like that. I've been on Miami teams that we weren't supposed to win. And we won our first national championship. Okay? I was on a team when we played Penn State in front of 100 million people on the very first national championship game ever played, Penn State, Miami. We got beat 14-10 in front of 100 million people. It was the first time ever that they moved it to January 2nd to Fiesta Bowl. I remember walking off that field going, God. We only gave up 7 first downs in that game. We gave up 135 yards in total offense and lost because Testaverde threw 5 picks in that ball game. Don't tell me point spreads in championship games. They're irrelevant. Let's go play 60. Let's go find out. I've been in too many situations where point spreads, this ain't a 7-game series, friends. This is one night. One night for glory. One night to make history. I've been in too many of these. Good and bad. All the people are telling me, you know, I know why they make castles in Vegas. Okay? It's because people make bets and Vegas doesn't like to be wrong. Okay? I keep being asked the question when I was talking to Joe Lisi earlier, Miami back. Don't ever ask me that question again. Because if you're asking me that question, Monday night, we'll find out if we're back. It's a formidable task because that coach has done a great job. It really is a great job. I have great respect for Curt Cignetti. I do. Great respect. Oh, and by the way, one of the great storylines in this game, Columbus High School's Fernando Mendoza, Mario Cristobal, Columbus High School. Mario played with Fernando Mendoza's father at Columbus. How's that for you? South Florida tie-in. This guy went to Manny Diaz football camps at Miami, wanting to be a Hurricane. Miami said no. Miami said no. So what did the kid do? Kid goes on a journey, goes to Cal, goes to Indiana, and he wins the Heisman Trophy. I've been speaking with Fernando, and I really love the family. I love the kid. I don't wish him well on Monday, but I'll tell you what, I love what his journey's been. One of the greatest Heisman Trophy speeches of all time comes from the heart, comes from a tough journey. How about that night that we're going to have? Fernando Mendoza and Mario Cristobal, parents, Cuban immigrants, all that South Florida love in Little Havana, they're all going to be there at Hard Rock. It's one of the greatest stories in college football history. There's so many great storylines in this game. There really is. And what Cignetti has done to get that IU team there, I knew Mario would get this football program back on track. You told me IU is going to be in this game? Are you crazy? I mean, Indiana University in a national championship game. You mean hoop, right, Sills? No, I mean football. You got to be kidding. All right. Hey, Jet fans, I hate to do this to you, man, but I gotta come off the top rope on you here. This is not going to be a good one here when we come off the top rope, man, because I got to tell you, if this storyline plays itself out, it's going to be an ugly one. We'll do that next. Keep it here on Sports Grid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports Grid.
New York Giants. They fired their head coach, Brian Daboll. Now, they did that during the season. Harbaugh is the favorite by a wide margin. Looking at Kalshi right now, Joe, 56% chance. 56 that he's the coach. The guy behind him is Kevin Stefanski at 25%. Is this look like it's just a Harbaugh spot? And if not, why is Harbaugh waiting until Monday? Does he want to see if something else opens up? But it looks like he's the heavy favorite and probably will get the job.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
Aaron Rodgers' season and maybe career comes to an end. But I want to start by saying this. We always go to the losing team, it feels like, first sometimes. And I know we're going to spend a lot of time on Pittsburgh. But I think Houston's live, right, man? Like, I mean, if they're going to play that kind of defense next week, they're going to beat New England too.
Newswire, only on Sports Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into Sports Grid and get ahead of the class.
Reclamation projects in the NFL has become fashionable now. Here's what I mean. Organizations let down quarterbacks more than quarterbacks let down organizations. You see it in Tampa with Baker Mayfield. You're seeing it a little bit in San Francisco when Mac Jones had to step in for Brock Purdy. But the biggest one has to be, and maybe what will turn out to be the biggest disaster in the history of the New York Jets, is Joe Namath 2.0. Sam Darnold is Joe Namath potentially 2.0. The Jets had this guy in the building. Sam Darnold, the last 2 years is 28-6, 8,200 passing yards, and 60 touchdowns on two different teams in two different systems. He goes to Seattle. He now has the number one seed. My God almighty, the ultimate Woody Johnson mess up. Make no mistake about it. Hey, you're worried about playing Madden with your kids and worrying about what players you might want to trade for. You might want to get off the Madden stick and you might want to start talking about how you develop a quarterback, dude, because your franchise has been the pit and where quarterbacks go to career death is in New York with the Jets. If Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl, you had Joe Namath 2.0. I'm rooting for this because it'll be an indictment on how organizations fail. You know, I heard Tom Brady when he was talking about finding the right coordinators and putting the right people around prospects when you bring dudes into your franchise. What do the Jets do? Look at Aaron. I mean, really, that was the worst coach football team in the last 20 years. Woody Johnson's owned that team for 25 years. And what? The last 15 they haven't made the playoffs because you make ridiculous decisions like you did with Darnold. Hey, dude, patience. Patience. Coaching. Getting people around. Hiring the right people. Hey, is that like an epiphany for Woody? This guy's the worst owner in football. And you know why he's the worst owner in football? The guy doesn't know what he's doing. That's not an opinion. These are facts. You see that line there where it says Carolina 21-22? Do you know who the scout team defensive ends were? They were Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Another place that makes knee-jerk reaction with David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, who maybe has found a little patience. I mean, guys, if you're going to develop these quarterbacks, the organizations have to do more. Look at what you're getting. Hey, and by the way, I know I have a hard time saying this too. Sam Darnold? Really? I know. We saw what happened. He turned into a pumpkin last year. When he had to beat Detroit and he had to, win a playoff game, he got knocked out. Well, what did he do this year? What did he do this year? He beat the Rams to give them the number 1 seed in the NFC, right? And to win the West. Look at that. Top seed. Sam Darnold. What an indictment on the Jets. I mean, how many quarterbacks have been successful? Chad Pennington? And that was only because what? Brady got injured that season, right? When is the last time the Jets have been relevant? Hey, Jet fans, the most famous Jet, there's 2 of them. You ready? Joe Namath and Fireman Ed, who bangs his head with a hammer. Those are the 2 most famous Jets. And one of them is a guy that sits in the stands and bangs on his head. I think it's appropriate for the guy who owns the team. Is it not? Oh, my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl. Everybody in New York is going to have to put their head under a table and go, we had the guy. We had him. And we let him walk out the building. We let the guy walk out the building. The same way you let Rodgers walk out the building, right? And he took that Pittsburgh Steelers team to a playoff. Sam Darnold, man, look at the journey he's been on. In the last 2 years, like I said, the guy's 28-6. 28-6. You can't make that up. You just can't make that stuff up, man. It's remarkable. Jet fans, your ultimate nightmare may be happening in front of you if that team ends up getting to Santa Clara and gets to the Super Bowl. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Spectacular stuff. Hour number 2 coming up here. An Outspoken.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on Sports Grid.
New York Giants. They fired their head coach, Brian Daboll. Now, they did that during the season. Harbaugh is the favorite by a wide margin. Looking at Kalshi right now, Joe, 56% chance. 56 that he's the coach. The guy behind him is Kevin Stefanski at 25%. Is this look like it's just a Harbaugh spot? And if not, why is Harbaugh waiting until Monday? Does he want to see if something else opens up? But it looks like he's the heavy favorite and probably will get the job.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid.
Aaron Rodgers' season and maybe career comes to an end. But I want to start by saying this. We always go to the losing team, it feels like, first sometimes. And I know we're going to spend a lot of time on Pittsburgh. But I think Houston's live, right, man? Like, I mean, if they're going to play that kind of defense next week, they're going to beat New England too.
Newswire, only on Sports Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into Sports Grid and get ahead of the class.